talking about no is not rejection, it's redirection, which I absolutely love. And it looks like we are live everywhere, which is great. So, this, oh my gosh, this concept of handling no's is so important, right? In not just in sales and business, but in life. Nancy, good morning. Great to see you here this morning. And I want, if you're joining live today, here's what I would love to know from you in the comments is how do you handle hearing no's? How do you handle no? Like, was there a time, and maybe it's recent, maybe it's this past week, when you thought something was going to be a yes, and maybe you thought you were going to sign a dream client, maybe you thought something was going to come together for you in a certain way and it didn't. And how did you handle it? We've got I don't know how to say your name, but welcome, Yashika. Welcome. Good morning. So I want to share with you a story, and please pop your questions in the comments about this, pop your experiences in the comments, because I think our mindset around how to handle things when they don't go the way we expected or the way we wanted is so important. Thank you for the hearts, Yashika. So here is, so I had this experience, this was years ago, where something that I thought was going to come together really well totally fell apart. And I wish I had known what I'm about to tell you at the time. And so I was, this was, oh gosh, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago. And I had worked my way up in this sales coaching company. Laura, good morning. I'm so glad to have you. And I was one of the top producers in this company, had a big team, was working internationally, yada, yada. And I'd been there for probably 3.5, 4 years. And I was used to being very top of the leaderboard, getting the awards, all of it. And at a certain point, it was like everything stopped. Everything stopped. And I was doing the same things. Good morning, Laurie. I'm so glad you're here. I was doing the same things. I was taking the same actions I always did. But it was like I could not close a sale for the life of me. Now, I don't know if any of you can relate to that or you've had that experience, but I was scared. I was really scared because I was, providing mostly financially for our family. My ego was hurt too. And I started tracking everything down to the wire. I got a spreadsheet out and I was like, okay, what happened with this client? What happened with that client? What could I have said better in the sales call? Blah, blah, blah. And I started going into a fair amount of fear and panic because something was just not working. And have any of you, let me know in the comments, have you ever had this happen? Have you ever had it happen where it's like suddenly the faucet just turns off and it does not matter what you do? It's just no, 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 no. Who's had this happen? Mary, good morning. It's so good to see you. And again, it could be in your sales. It could be in your life with something else. Well, here's after, let's say, I don't know, 3 or 4 agonizing months of freaking out about what was going on. Yashika saying, yes, it's so frustrating. Something very unexpected happened where and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail. I can't go into a lot of details about it, but something very unexpected happened where suddenly there were some big changes that happened quickly in the company, and I and probably 10 to 12 other people were kind of ousted quickly. And it was, that whole ordeal was something else. But what I learned in that moment was this concept of no is not rejection, it's redirection. Because there was so much cleanup that had to happen in that process that if I had been actively enrolling new clients and new team members at the level that I had been doing it before, it would have been so much worse. And what ended up happening after that, even though it wasn't a really smooth, easy process, was that new things started to come together that were so much better. New business opportunities, new clients, it was very much a rebuilding process. And have you had that happen in your life too? I see Lori on LinkedIn is saying, yes, you relate to this. Laura, you're saying, yes, you relate to this. But in that moment, it can feel like crap, right? It can feel terrible because we're used to just chugging along and having things go our way. But with the hindsight, because hindsight is always 2020 and we don't see the full picture when we're in it. There's a quote, and I forget, it may have been Einstein who said it, but one of the most important decisions you will ever make in your life is whether you live in a friendly or a hostile universe. So I want you to write that down. Like if you're taking notes this morning, good morning, Ksenia. It's so good to see you. One of the most important decisions you will ever make in your life is if you live in a friendly or a hostile universe. And in those moments where it feels like everything is falling apart and you're having to do that cleanup, and it's like, why am I getting so many no's? If you can because you will get whatever you expect. So I highly encourage you and invite you to make that decision, that you live in a friendly universe where everything is always happening for you. And you can look at it and say, if this were happening for me, what would it mean? One of my mentors she would have us do this exercise that was really helpful for me. And it pissed me off the first time she had me do it. But it was so empowering when something that felt negative would happen. She would have us say, I'm thrilled this is happening because, and then fill in the blanks. I'm thrilled this is happening because, and write out like 10 different reasons why you're thrilled that the thing that you're not so thrilled about is happening. But what a shift. What a shift. And is there something right now for you that has felt like a no? Is there something right now for you that has felt like rejection, where you've been stewing in it, where you've been focusing on what's wrong with it? And I want you to take a moment right now, and you don't have to say what it is, but why are you thrilled it's happening? And write that down or put that in the comments. Why are you thrilled it's happening right now? Bernard, good morning on LinkedIn. I'm so glad you're here, my friend. Ponce Construction, good morning. So here's, again, that experience. Now with the hindsight, now I know that when something that feels like it's been working stops working, or when you get a no, if you've made that decision that you live in a world where everything is always happening for you, it empowers you to harvest the good. It empowers you to harvest the good. And there's Michael Beckwith gives a 3-step process when something happens that is not feeling so great for you. And he says, number 1, it is what it is. Accept it. Number 2, harvest the good. Number 3, leave the rest. Okay. Rita, good afternoon. It's so good to see you here. And I think we can take that. We can take that and really implement that in our lives. So, I wanted to share with you today. I kind of see, and so obviously a lot of the content we talked about here it's through the lens of sales, but y'all know it applies to your life, right? Like we know this applies to everything in life. I really see there's 2 types of no's that I think about in sales, business, and life. And so the first one is not yet. So the first one would mean no is not yet. And the way I think about it is, let's say specifically in sales and in your business, that there's someone who you just know is a dream client and you really want to work with them. And it's like, oh, this is just perfect and it's meant to be. And they say no. They say no. What you can take that to mean usually in sales is that you haven't made me want it badly enough, because people always find money for what they want badly enough. Are you with me? Angela, good morning. Oh my gosh, so good to see you. So the way that I would think about that is that first type of no, which is a not yet, is it's like you don't get to control necessarily when somebody needs to buy from you. Now, there are things you can do Angela's saying you're with me, right? There are things you can do to create greater desire, but I'm not a big fan of like falsely manufacturing pain for people. I know that's a lot of what's taught in a lot of sales coaching I've been a part of. I'm not a fan of that. I'm a fan of like, meet people where they're at, serve them, help them. And then when it's time, they're going to buy from you. But so what I would say in that case is, I love this mindset. One of my other mentors, she was on the podcast. Oh my gosh, I think episode 86, AJ Vaden. She's phenomenal, phenomenal woman. And she's a, $1 million producer, was top of actually the old company I told you about at the beginning of this live. And her mindset was always, it's not a matter of if someone's going to be my client. It's just a matter of when. And so she would treat people, whether they were her current clients or not, she would treat them like her clients, like her customers, and build that relationship now. And she had amazing conversion rates, amazing retention rates, even more, which again, like so much of sales is focused on just like get the new customer, get the new customer, get the new customer. But I think especially, and I know we've got a mixed audience here, which is beautiful. I think especially for, I know it's primarily women though, for us as women, like that is often one of our superpowers is relationship building, is nurturing, is loving on people and cultivating those relationships. And I think about, for me, the people who I've invested the most money with, like in coaching and my businesses, people who were like, I could just tell they genuinely wanted the best for me. They didn't pressure me to buy from them, but they made me feel like they saw me and they supported me and they believed in me. And how many of you can relate to that? Let's just see the comments. Angela saying it's a matter of when, so powerful. Yes. Mustafa, my friend from Morocco, good afternoon. Laura is saying, I love this. It changes the whole sales process. Yes. Angela saying that mindset really puts the power back on our hands. Yeah, instead of feeling at the client's mercy if they buy from us or not. Yes, exactly. And I'm going to tie in one other thing that's been so helpful to me, kind of building off of what you said there. Angela, let me see. Lori on LinkedIn is saying, I got a lot of no's this week, so I guess something bigger and better is coming. Yes, 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 yes. And so, Lori, to your point, because I've had that experience too, here's what I want you to know. So that's the first type of no, is not yet. The second type of no is not this way. It's not meant to happen this way. And so when you're doing your part, when you are doing your part, which means staying in alignment, right? So we talk a lot about energy here, matching the energy of the person who already has what you want, including thoughts and feelings, right? Because then you're a vibrational match for the reality you desire that you're creating. So when you're doing that and you're taking the aligned action and the faucet shuts off and it's like, it's just not happening. Kind of like that story I told you before. All that it means is that you're being invited to go down a different path, and it's got to be better for you. It has to be. And it's not going to be a consolation prize. It doesn't mean that you're just getting a consolation prize. It means literally there is something better for you. When I think about what happened in our old company, like, well, I am so grateful, even though it sucked so much in the moment. I am so grateful that it didn't work out the way I thought it was supposed to, because we wouldn't be here right now in this way. So many, and I know you can relate to this, right? Think about in your own life, the miraculous things, the gifts, the blessings that showed up in your life when you felt like you were rejected from something that you really wanted. And I even think about, I shared this story yesterday on a call with the 10K Club members, and it's kind of like I don't know if it's a silly story, but it relates to this. Like we recently, we lost our dog, our 16-year-old dog, a few months ago. And we had, kind of gone through the emotions of her transition and all of that. And we were starting to feel in the past month or so like it was time to find a new dog. And we've been going through that process and visiting shelters. And even last week, we thought we had the dog. Like we had found this cute little Chihuahua. And I'm not even like he was a mixed Chihuahua. I'm not a huge, sorry, any Chihuahua fans. I'm not a huge like Chihuahua person, but he was cute. We were like, oh, we could see him fitting in well with the family. And so we got on the list for him. We were number 3 on the list. And, the shelter said, if you're top 6, you're probably likely to get him because, usually number 1, number 2, they may not show up on the adoption day. And you got a pretty good shot of getting him if you're before number 6 on the list. So last Tuesday, I was working, but Jason got Jack packed up in the car and he's like early at the shelter to get in line to pick up this little dog that we'd already named Charlie and bought the bed for and did all the things. And number 1 showed up and they adopted him. And we were like, we were a little disappointed. Now I know how this works now. So I wasn't as disappointed as I would have been if I didn't know how it works. But experience those emotions of like, oh man, we'd been thinking about this dog being the dog, and we felt like it was time. And anyway, so we just accepted it, and we were like, okay, that's not what's meant to be. and we're just going to stay open to how our new dog is meant to come in. Literally the very next day, Jason spots this dog on a website that we've been looking at a lot. That we've been thinking, like, we've been looking for dogs, and somehow we hadn't seen this little dog Mona before. And he spots her, and we're like, oh my gosh, she was like the twin of Bailey. Like, she's the exact twin of who like our dog who transitioned. And she, like, we reached out to the foster parent where she was at, and he was like, oh yeah, like she's great with kids, she's great with other dogs. Like, she checked the boxes of everything we were looking for in a dog. And he lived an hour away, but he just happened to be like right next to our house that day. Of course, he was like, oh yeah, I'm actually going to be at the vet right next to your house. Like, I'll bring her if you want to come meet her. So we go meet her that afternoon, and it's like she's long story short, she's laying next to me right now. Literally could not have created a more perfect dog situation for our family if we had tried. Everything we wanted and more, and is uncannily like our old dog. So all of that to say, you get to be attached to what, but not how. You get to be attached to what, but not how, in sales, in business, in life. And I would even do an asterisk that, like, you get to be attached to what, but not how or who. So even in your sales, like, you don't get to be attached to who becomes your customer or not. Now, it doesn't mean you don't approach everyone with that energy of, like, this person, like, if you know that you can help them and serve them, treat them like your client, right? Like, remembering that mindset from AJ that I shared of, it's not a matter of if someone's going to be my client, it's when. But you don't get to be attached to when or how they're going to be your client. You get to show up, you do your part, which is stay in alignment, stay in service, take the action, let people know if you think you can serve them. And then it's when it feels like a push or a force, which I know so much of. Can any of you relate to that, where in sales it feels like you've got to push or force people to buy from you? Like, I used to feel like I had to do that to close sales. And so I did it because that was what was taught by the training I took part in and a lot of the companies I was part of, but it never felt right. It never felt aligned. It always felt gross. And I'm telling you right now, you don't have to do that. Like, you do not have to do that. When you show up and you're in alignment and you're doing your inner work, and it's like, you know that money, those clients have to come because of how you're showing up. You don't get to be attached to how or who. Okay. And so, to the point of the dog, like, Charlie was meant to be our dog. It was Mona. And I'm so glad that it didn't work out with Charlie, even though I'm sure he would have been delightful. Let me just check comments real quick. Let's see here. Yashika's saying, this is so true. It always works out better when I hold the vibe. Yes. Rita, taking my division through the great energy depression, we took market share just as the market turned because the only job the sales team had was to support and serve the customers. Yes, imagine that created the highest sales results for you. Rita saying, we got market shares because the customers had a desire to spend money with us. They felt so supported. They came back spending it all with us. Yes. And it's that long term. Like, always thinking long term with your activities, with how you approach people. When we get grabby, when we get in that scarcity mindset of like, oh my gosh, it has to come in right. And like, I've been there, like, trust. I'm not saying I'm perfect with this because I'm still learning this along with you. It's a heck of a lot better than it used to be. That's a rare moment for me now when that happens. But like, I just want to let you know, one, if that has been part of your experience, don't make yourself wrong for it. But know that when you focus on the short term, on like feeling like I've got to push and force right now, it never works out well. It never works out. So you got to trust that you do your part and nothing else. And this is where that spiritual connection is really important, knowing that money's not your source. God, spirit, universe are your source. Okay. Let's see here. Laura's saying, so powerful. I get attached. Oh, you don't get attached to when or how. This has helped you so much with your mindset. Yes. And I know, Laura, like on our call yesterday too, just hearing about how powerful your mindset is right now and knowing there are opportunities opening up for you and your family. And you're in that energy of openness to how it's meant to happen, which is exciting, because then you can have miracles. Then you can have the unexpected. Then you can be dazzled. But when we get too attached to how something has to happen, you literally cut off possibility. So it's so important to remember this. All right, my friends. So here, thank you so much for the hearts. And Lauren, good morning. Does anyone have any questions on this? Pop them in the comments if you have questions. Just two final things. So remember, stay focused on what you want. You do get to fiercely hold that vision of what you want from a sales perspective, from a revenue perspective, from a service perspective, from a life perspective. Knowing that when you hold that vision with your will in your mind and in your heart, you stay energetically aligned with it as if it's already happened for you, then it must happen for you, that or something better. And it must. And again, if it's not exactly how you think it's going to be, it's not a consolation prize that you're going to get. It's literally going to be better. It's literally going to be better. So you just don't get to control how or when. So we get to release the attachment. But guess what, my friend? You're going to feel so much better in the process. You know you're gripping too hard if you don't feel good along the way. If you feel anxiety, fear, scarcity, whatever, that's when you know you are cutting off possibility. So staying in that relaxed, open energy literally allows what you want to come through to you. So that is your motivational moment for today. And hey, the other thing that I would invite you to do, I shared this yesterday on the live, but I'm so excited. So we are actively right now putting together the final details on our Sedona retreat at the end of this year. So if you are interested, shoot me a DM. You can't register yet, but we will get you on the early registration. We'll get you on the list to receive information on registration. And yeah, just shoot me a DM if you're interested. All right, loves, you're so welcome, Laura. You're so welcome. And wishing you all a beautiful rest of your day. And I will see you tomorrow. We're going to be talking tomorrow about, I really enjoy studying universal laws because I think they help us guide our sales and our life and our finances better. So we're going to talk tomorrow, I think, about the law of polarity. And it's a really good one, especially if you're going through anything hard right now. So stay with me. It's going to be amazing. I'm grateful for you. Thank you, friends. And I will see you tomorrow morning at 8:30 Eastern. Bye for now.